Hi dolls, take two. I forgot to mute Slack, so it made a noise, and then I got distracted trying to mute it. So, sorry I haven't been uploading a lot of videos lately, but there have been other things going on which have been kind of time consuming, so I apologize for that. This is a short video. I just wanted to catch up and talk about post-op and stuff like that. I was supposed to be at a massage today, but the person who was supposed to do my post-op massage wasn't in, and I didn't want to see anybody else, and it's a long drive out to Queens. So that kind of transitions into another subject, which is massages in general. I know a lot of people get them right after recovery when they're still in the Dominican Republic and there's somebody there performing them, and they're easy to get, and they're a very specific type of massage geared toward the surgery you get, and it's not the same here. The massages that I've been getting and the place that I've been going are good, but it's an hour to 2 hours each way for me to get there per week, so it's not something I could do every 3 days, plus, the expense of doing it several times a week. There still is no compelling scientific evidence that you need massages. If you think about it, all the patients in the United States are not going for these weekly or twice a week massages. They're having the same procedures that we are, so if it's a time strain, if it's something that's interfering with your family life or your work life, or there's nobody near you who does that type of massage, I don't want anybody to get freaked out like they're doomed to have some sort of horrible complication, because the massage process, it may make people feel good, it may make your faja fit better for a day or two, but it's really not something that's an absolute must, and I will probably get crucified for saying that. And while we're talking about getting crucified for saying things, everybody in the surgery community today is talking about the unfortunate passing of a patient of, from what I've read, Dr. Cabral's last night. And as is often the case in these situations, I'm seeing a lot of guessing and, misinformation floating around. It's not why I made this video, but, I see people say, oh, you have to do this and you have to do that, and in a lot of these cases, it's because of something going on in that person's body that isn't something that they didn't, take vitamins or get massages or wear their faja or whatever the case is. I'm not saying anybody's saying that about this particular person, but I'm saying that, before you go around changing plans or getting scared, or I've seen a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to go to Miami instead, this is it. But a lot of people died in Miami this spring, so I don't know why people seem to think that that's some sort of better alternative. I haven't seen anything compelling that makes me feel like Miami is safer, and I know that when I was here seeing surgeons in New York, a lot of them called Miami a chop shop. Now, I'm not saying that Miami is a chop shop. What I'm saying is that people spread this information for all different sorts of reasons, and in that case, the surgeon just didn't want to lose a potential patient to another city, so he said that it's ridiculous. Miami's no different from New York, which is not very different, although obviously, other countries are different. Most people come back from the Dominican Republic and don't have major complications. I don't know what happened in this recent instance, and it's very sad. But also, I wouldn't go freaking out and freaking each other out until you know what's going on. And, the real only thing that you can do with any of this stuff, no matter where you have your surgery, is learn about it, learn about the complications, learn about, people don't like to talk about adverse outcomes as if that somehow brings it on you, but find out why if you can, and find out if that situation applies to you. If, you have a weaker heart, make sure you get a full cardio workup while you're here. Find out what leads to complications in the instances you can, and see if those things apply to you, and really be honest with yourself, because I've heard of people, getting rejected while they're there for some kind of test that they don't pass or whatever, and getting upset. And, I think I would have been upset, obviously, if I couldn't have my surgery, but at the same time, I also probably, hopefully, would have understood that it was in my best interest not to have it. So, one of the things that I talked about before, which is totally unrelated, is seromas. It doesn't look like I have a seroma. I've been, checked out by a doctor regularly, and my wound is healing really well. But there's something that a lot of people don't know. And I looked it up. This is not specific to where you have your surgery. American doctors say this is completely normal, and it's gross, but I'm going to show you because I want to be real with you. It leaks sometimes because it's still, there's still obviously serous fluid that my body needs to eliminate, and sometimes it gets like leaky and it's horrible. And yes, you can totally dress them, but when I put my faja on, the dressings just go everywhere and I can't get them to stick. So unfortunately on some days that happens to me, and if it happens to you, don't freak out. It is normal. And I've been talking forever about making a video about American doctors versus Dominican doctors, but I would be afraid that somebody would go here to a doctor and a doctor would be like, oh my God, that's so terrible. But if you look it up on Real Self, they'll be saying like, oh, that's a completely normal part of the healing process. So it's a completely normal part of the healing process. I work at home, so for me, I don't have to worry about it leaking for the most part in public places, and it's really not that big of a deal. It's a small spot that I could probably cover with a wound dressing over my faja, so I'll probably do that tomorrow, but I just wanted to let you know that that's a thing that happens, and if it happens to you, don't be alarmed. So I guess the basic point of this video is don't be alarmed. I see so much panic. It's almost like everybody in the community is so afraid that they're, they see these good results and they see these surgeons, Instagram pages, and they realize that they're paying a lower price than people in the United States are, and it's almost like they feel like there has to be some catch. I don't like the idea that people are kind of half scared, not really fully sure about what they're doing, because that's not, exclusive to patients who go to the Dominican Republic or wherever else they may go. That happens here too. Everybody gets afraid. It's normal. It doesn't mean that your body's trying to tell you something's wrong, or that's not how fear works a lot of the time. There may be things that go on in conversations with you or your surgeon, or your surgeon's assistant, that may actually be red flags, and that's a separate thing, but it's normal to feel afraid. But it's also the best thing you could do is really read good quality information, not rumors. Rumors are one of the most pervasively bad things in the community, because you'll see 10 people in a thread saying 10 completely conflicting things, and people just come out more confused than they were in the first place. So, in my situation, I talked to a lot of people who had seen my surgeon. I had a really good feeling when I met my surgeon. I felt safe with him. I think that was important too. I think, you should really feel safe. There's a kind of, when you have an interaction with a medical professional, you either feel comfortable with them or not. And I think, there are situations since I've come back where I felt extremely uncomfortable with medical professionals. And, with my doctor, Dr. Lima, I felt extremely comfortable with him. He just, he seems very sincere and very trustworthy. You just feel like he wouldn't do anything he didn't think was a good idea, or anything that would compromise your health. And that doesn't mean that people haven't come back and, had to seek aftercare, but that's normal after a surgery. Sometimes you need antibiotics. Sometimes you need to see a doctor. I had to get stitches removed, which is normal, so it's important that you feel going in like you've done all the research yourself, like everything you've seen is not somebody else's opinion or somebody telling you who's safe. And, just try not to get worked up or afraid, because the same reasons people feel that way about the Dominican Republic and going there for surgery, that applies here too. Surgery for elective and cosmetic purposes is something that our society, they're very keen on the results of it. They like to see people who have, had surgeries. They like to see pictures of them, but, when you talk about it, it's a moral thing. It's something that's considered to be indulgent and vain, and that's where a lot of this, kind of stuff comes out of, where people are just afraid something bad will happen to them. It's the old kind of moral tale of, you bring it on yourself because it's a surgery you don't need. And that's really all it is. There's nothing you really should be that afraid of. If you've done your research and you've picked a good surgeon, and you've looked into instances where there have been adverse effects, and you know what causes them, and you know that you're, as far as you know, healthy. You're not concealing anything from the surgeon or yourself after your tests. So, I mean, I was nervous going in because I have palpitations, and sometimes those throw off pre-operative tests. And I didn't know if I was gonna get approved, or I don't know what the word is when, they check you and you're okay to go through a surgery, because I get nervous when I'm in a medical environment. My heart starts beating irregularly and weird, but it didn't. I've had other procedures where they've pointed it out and then it went on and it was fine. So I didn't know, and that was a fear I had, and it's a fear I can relate to. But I see a lot of panic right now, and I just don't want people to panic. I don't want people, one thing I keep saying is, oh my God, or keep seeing is, what's going on over there? Surgery is going on over there, and occasionally there are complications with surgery, and it's very sad when a young person dies, but a lot of times people read the same thing over and over and over, and it reads like to them as if it's separate instances when it's really one thing. So if a surgeon, you have to assume that if a surgeon is practicing and they're in good standing, not everything bad that happens is the surgeon's fault or the patient's fault. Sometimes bad things happen and it's no one's fault. And I just wanted to say, don't freak out. Research. Just keep researching. Make sure. And if you feel uncomfortable at any point, if you feel like the surgeon that you selected is not for you, or maybe not safe, or whatever the case is, it's not too difficult to switch surgeons. So, I still personally am extremely pleased that I made the decisions that I made and that I had my surgery there and not here, because of the results. I just don't think I would have had the same sort of results if I saw a doctor in New York or Miami. So that's how I feel personally, and it's different for everybody, but I know the whole Dominican thing is controversial here because some people think that it's unsafe, but there are different things there, but nothing made me feel unsafe. And that wasn't the case when I returned home. When I returned home, there were times when I needed medical attention, and that's when it did get unsafe. And it's not because, I believe anybody's obligated to provide care to a patient that they didn't operate on in the first place, but at the same time, I just felt like care was a lot more straightforward there. It wasn't, it wasn't the same way it is here, where there's lots of waiting, and I'll get into that in a different video, but, in the United States, you can get bounced around to 5 or 6 different doctors, and they'll all say that you need this doctor, you need that doctor, and nobody actually does anything for you. Whereas there, if there was something that I needed attention with, somebody would just do it, and it was done, and it was really easy. And during my surgery, after my surgery, in the clinic, in the recovery house, there was never a period of time where I felt unsafe. There was never a period of time where I felt like, okay, this is not something that this is threatening my health, or, and I'm pretty good with medical environments. I mean, not everything was the same, not everything was the way I would do it, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong or bad, it's just different. So, I mean, here I can't say the same. There were situations where I was in medical environments and I felt extremely unsafe, and this is after my surgery. So, I just wanted to get that out there because I see panic, and I don't like to see everybody panicking because, you can feel powerless when you go out of the country. You can feel like, as much as you research, you're doing something that's risky and dangerous, and everybody will say awful things about you if something bad happens. But for the most part, everybody who goes through this journey and process comes out on the other side and they're okay. Adverse events are rare, and that's just something you have to keep in mind. They're rare. You can always say, you know what, I don't want to take that risk and not do it, and that's totally okay. But you shouldn't feel like that risk is like 50-50 or even like 90-10. It's like a fraction of a number. So that was really all I wanted to say, and thank you for watching. I'll try to do a more cohesive video next time.